This is a guide of how you can perform the ELISA tests for the Beta2GPI kit. It will give you all the information you need to do the test, including using Terra's software. All TheraTest kit boxes are labeled with the content of the kit, the expiration date, and the kit's lot number. Allow all of the reagents and microplates to warm to room temperature, which is 18 to 25 degrees Celsius, by removing them from the kit box as demonstrated below. This will take at least 30 minutes. The kit contains a data sheet presenting the range of appropriate measurements that the calibrators and controls must fall within. The units and ranges change with each new lot. Prepare all necessary equipment to perform the test. They are listed below. Prepare the 1X wash buffer before beginning the assay. Using a graduated cylinder, combine 900 milliliters of deionized water and 100 milliliters of 10X concentrated wash buffer. Following the preparation of the 1X wash buffer, take the label from the concentrated 10X wash buffer and place it on the newly prepared buffer. Initial and label the buffer with the date it was created. Next, label one dilution tube each for the positive control, negative control, and patient specimens. Place the labeled tubes into the dilution block in the location indicated on the plate map. Only one dilution tube is required for each control and patient specimen. Please note, calibrators are pre-diluted, therefore the calibrators will not need to be diluted further. For this assay, the 1X wash buffer will be used as a specimen diluent for the controls and patient specimens. Add 1 milliliter of the 1X wash buffer to the positive control, negative control, and all patient specimen dilution tubes. Using a new tip each time, pipette 10 microliters of controls and patient specimens into their corresponding dilution tubes. Cap all samples firmly after diluting controls and patient specimens. Slowly invert the dilution tube rack 5 times in order to mix the samples. To ensure an adequate mix, watch as the fluid moves through the dilution tubes. Label 3 additional dilution tubes representing the calibrators, IgM, IgG, and IgA, and place the tubes into the 3 empty slots in row A. IgM calibrator equals A1, IgG calibrator equals A3, and IgA calibrator equals A5. Pipette 250 microliters of each calibrator into the labeled tubes. The calibrators are pre-diluted and should not be diluted further. Using a pair of scissors, carefully loosen and remove the caps from each sample tube. On the left is a TheraTest plate frame and wells prepared to run a Beta2GPI assay. On the right is a plate setup representing the sample layout for the Beta2GPI assay. The layout demonstrated below would allow for 13 patient specimens to be tested. The strips of wells alternate between antigen-coded wells and blank wells. Set a timer to 30 minutes. Using the multi-channel pipette, carefully drop 100 microliters of the 3 calibrators, which are IgM, IgG, and IgA. Observe each pipette tip and ensure the fluid levels are equal throughout. Load the calibrators into their corresponding wells in row A of the microwell plate. IgM calibrator is in wells A1 and A2, IgG calibrator is in wells A3 and A4, and IgA calibrator is in wells A5 and A6. Using the multi-channel pipette, carefully drop 100 microliters of the positive control, negative control, and patient specimens as demonstrated below. Load the controls and patient specimens to their corresponding wells. Start the timer that was set for 30 minutes. When the 30-minute timer sounds, carefully flick the microwell plate into the sink in a swift downward motion. Make sure the strips of wells are firmly placed in the plate frame. This will serve as a precautionary measurement to prevent the wells from falling out of the frame and into the sink. Pour the previously prepared 1x wash buffer into a clean reservoir. Set the multi-step pipette to number 5. This will load 250 microliters with each press of the lever. Insert 8 new pipette tips firmly. With the tips in the wash buffer, depress the multi-step pipette plunger to load the wash solution. Carefully pipette 250 microliters of 1x wash into each column. Lay the pipette down on the bench with the tips facing down and out. This will prevent any fluid backing up into the pipette and contaminating it. Decant the wash into a sink. Repeat this wash procedure 2 additional times for each plate for a total of 3 washes. Firmly and carefully tap each plate upside down onto a paper towel. This is performed to remove as much excess wash as possible. Pour the IgM, IgG, and IgA conjugates into new reagent reservoirs. Use new pipette tips to load the conjugate. Set a timer for 30 minutes. Starting with the IgM conjugate, load 100 microliters into column 1, column 2, column 7, and column 8. Next, load 100 microliters of the IgG conjugate into column 3, column 4, column 9, and column 10. Finally, load 100 microliters of the IgA conjugate into column 5, column 6, column 11, and column 12. This is an example of a microplate loaded with all 3 conjugates. The leftover conjugate may be poured back into the reagent bottle. Following the 30-minute incubation, wash the plate with the same technique as the first wash cycle. Wash each plate 3 times. Use a new reservoir for the addition of the chromogen. A full plate of wells will require 10 milliliters of chromogen added to a reagent reservoir. For 2 plates of wells, add 20 milliliters of chromogen. Plan accordingly, as excess chromogen may not be poured back into the original bottle. Use new pipette tips to load the chromogen. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Start the timer as you begin to load chromogen into the first column of wells. Do not wait to start the timer until the entire plate is loaded with chromogen. Draw up 100 microliters of the chromogen reagent into new pipette tips. Pipette 100 microliters of chromogen from a reagent reservoir into all of the wells. Never pour chromogen remaining in the reagent reservoir back into the reagent bottle. This will contaminate the chromogen in the reagent bottle. Simply discard any leftover chromogen. Add stop reagent to the reservoir before the timer expires. Draw up 100 microliters of the stop reagent into new pipette tips. Add the 100 microliters of stop reagent to all of the wells. Tap the side of the plates gently to mix the samples in the wells. The rest of the stop reagent may be poured back into the reagent bottle. This is an example of a completed Beta2GPI assay. The samples in each well are indicated. Place the developed plate into an ELISA reader for analysis. To read a new plate on the Terra software, select File, Reading, New. Select Beta2GPI from the list of assays. Select Reader, Read and Collect. The reader will take 75 to 85 seconds to read the plate. This is an example of absorbance measurements displayed on Terra software for the Beta2GPI assay. After measuring the absorbance values, select the Sample IDs tab. Select Edit On. Enter the sample IDs from the assay in the same order the samples were loaded into the microplate wells. Select Save once all sample IDs have been entered. A dialog box will immediately pop up. Type in the name of the test that is run, followed by the date and the initials of the individual who ran the test. Please see the example. Select OK to save the assay. This concludes the presentation provided by Theratest Laboratories in reference to performing the Beta2GPI ELISA assay, as well as a demonstration of test result storage within our proprietary software, Terrace. If further clarification or assistance is required, feel free to contact our technical support department at 1-800-441-0771.